We'll move on to presentation number 4.
Lee Stevens of Stevens Architects and Jim Wilson, General Manager of Blue Water Area Transit, will report on the plans for the Downtown Transit Center.
Good evening. I'm Lee Stevens. Jim Fisher and Jim Wilson. Jim's going to give a little presentation to bring us up to date.
Well, Mayor Rep, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, members of council, thank you for allowing us to do a very brief presentation tonight about our proposed transit center. I just want to go through a couple things. One is about the history of transportation or public transportation in the city of Port Huron. And actually, it has a very long history. In 1866, it was William Pitt Edison who started our first public transportation in the area, and that was basically a single horse-drawn bus to take passengers from the train station and into town. And later on, partnering with some others, he got more ambitious and developed the Port Huron to Gratiot Street Railway Company and provided horse-drawn streetcar service and along a great area of the city. Later on, that was expanded. The Vanderpool Manufacturing Company of Chicago built the Port Huron Electric Railway, and after reconstructing expansion, the new public transit system became the City Electric Railway and provided continuous service until 1930. So basically, Port Huron has had some form of public transportation for 127 of the past 135 years. Since 1976, that has been provided since Blue Water Area Transit, and in that time we've carried over 20 million riders in the little over 104 square mile service area that we have. Now, some of you have been aware of the ridership growth that we've experienced in the last few years, and that graph shows the growth of ridership on our bus service from 2004 to 2010. But one of the questions always is, who are the riders of our bus service? Our batteries are getting low. SEMCOG last year did an on-board study. They interviewed people on our buses amongst and other municipalities' bus services also as to who they are and where they're going, and it was broken down into different categories. But of course, the important ones: people going to college, people shopping, eating out, or going to work. When you add up those main things, you're at just under 71% of the people use that. So it is the desire of Blue Water Area Transit to support the downtown and future development, and it's our hope to provide a mechanism to support plans of future development. Basically, we're looking at the McMorran South lot, as we're all aware. This is the current condition, or the existing McMorran site conditions, and Architect Stevens has provided us with a first draft of a proposed transit center, revamp parking, revamp McMorran Boulevard, and basically beautifying the whole area. And again, we believe our proposed transfer center will help bring all these plans to fruition. And basically, on behalf of Blue Water Area Transit and our entire ridership, I want to thank the Port Huron City Council for your continued support of Blue Water Area Transit.
Thank you. I assume
Are here for any questions.
Right. I assume that Mr. Stevens is going to. Are you giving anything now or not, or are you
I
just?
can just tell you a little bit why we're here tonight.
Okay.
This is the first draft of the idea. And the idea is to build a transit center there and redevelop the rest of the area, the McMorran Boulevard. So basically from the face of McMorran on the north side to Grand River on the east and the south, and Erie and over to Superior. So redevelop that area. And specifically why we're here tonight is for the grant to go into effect, the Blue Water Transit needs to have a Phase 2 environmental done of that area. Once we establish the area, we need to have our Phase 2, which Phase 2 environmental, is testing the soils and seeing what's under the soil. Once that Phase 2 environmental is complete, we submit that to the grant, then our grant goes into effect. Right now, our grant's not really 100% in effect. It's there, but we need to get it in effect. To do that environmental, it's good to do it sooner than later, because we'd like to do it in the fall here, or December, rather than January or February. So that's why we're here specifically tonight, and that's kind of our time frame with the grant itself. The site is really we've selected that and we've expanded it some, as you can see. So if you have any questions, we can.
Is there anyone on council who wishes to ask any questions right now? Yes, Councilmember Lewandowski.
I know, because we had the meeting with you guys, but I had a few phone calls today, people asking why you removed the parking deck, and I was hoping maybe you can explain that for them.
Sure. As we got into the project a little bit, we had originally intended on a parking deck because of, to replace the parking that was lost, you might say, to the transit center. Once we got into this project, we're finding that the parking lot on a daily basis only has around 30 cars using it. So to build a parking structure, which is, if you can visualize, is something the size of 200 by 200 feet and 30 feet tall, is a pretty massive building. So to build that, we're putting a pretty large mass on that site. Something that would look like McMorran in a sense, when you look at that from the south, so you got a tall building. Then secondly, once that structure's built, somebody has to maintain it. So assuming the structure lasts 50, 60 years, it has to be maintained. So the question came up, who's going to maintain it for the next life of the structure? Who's going to really use it? If we only have 30 cars parking there, except when we have major events at McMorran, who's going to use it on a daily basis? Who's going to pay for the operation of it, lighting it and snowplowing and all that? So when those aspects were all brought up, it was decided that really the structure wasn't needed. If we redeveloped the rest of the parking lot, we'd have plenty of parking, and we'd have a new lot that is now, 50 years old and pretty needs repair.
I have one more, too.
Yes, go ahead.
I know part of the old plan was to put the parking structure there, and we wouldn't have to maintain the lot anymore. Whose responsibility is it going to be to maintain and snowplow and do all that for the lot at this point?
Okay, in our grant, we have funds to really rebuild the whole lot. So when I say we're not just going to repave it, we're really going to take it out and redesign it and rebuild the whole lot. So we have a brand-new lot from below grade up. So that lot will last us 20, 30 years without much work to it. Now, once the life of the lot is worn and we need to maintain it, it would really be up to, that lot is going to go back to the McMorran, which is the city, so it's going to go back to you all to maintain it and get the revenue from it. So you'd get the revenue from the lot and maintain it. The grant just takes for the construction of the lot.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Harris.
Last week, I met with Mr. Stevens and Mr. Wilson, and I was I thought the process was going good. But since then, I've talked to some of the people who are adjacent to the proposed garage, specifically Robbins, Backstreet Deli, and the Backyard Soap Outfit. And I really have some concerns whether I could vote for this or not, for the simple reason that these people tell me they haven't been contacted, they haven't been explained the concept of getting in and out of their building, they're worried about vandalism, and there's some issues. I really think that for you people to convince me, you have to go talk to these people and tell them what's going on. Evidently, they don't know it, and I don't doubt what they're telling me.
No, we really haven't met with those Backstreet Deli and that. But as far as we have not met with them, so they're really retailers there. But we can meet with them. But I think for their benefit, they're going to get new parking, and also this transit center is very transparent, so it's going to be glass and transparent buildings. So it's, from security standpoint, it'll be a big benefit to them, because we're going to have a staff person at the transit center till 11 o'clock every night and 3 o'clock on Friday and Saturday, as long as the buses are running. So we'll have someone on site there that really should enhance the security of the area a lot.
Well, like I say, one of the questions, the fact was the deli said that they do the food service for the college, and to get egress and out of their building to get back and forth to the college is the bus thing is going to kind of create a problem. Mr. Marcosi, or Mr. Robbins basically expressed the same thing, that getting in and out of his business for himself and his customers is an issue. And like I say, I really stress that you people have to go talk to them people. Yeah. And I'd like to get some kind of input back from them. They basically, my concept is they would like the facility moved to the other end of the lot.
Okay, we haven't met with them, but it will, we are not, we're redoing Superior Mall, the street there, so that's being redone, but it's staying, and we're keeping parking on it and stuff. So they would really have the same access that they do today. And our buses are really, today, we have 8 buses that come once every 45 minutes for 10 minutes. So the buses are there 10 minutes every hour. And in the future, we would hope to grow to maybe 10 buses, so we'd have 10 buses there once an hour. So I don't think the bus traffic is heavy. Now, will there be more people there? Probably, hopefully, yes. Hopefully, it's bringing more people downtown, so.
So with that, you're basically saying you will go talk to these people?
Sure, yeah, we'll
explain the
definitely go talk
situation?
to them, sure.
I think it's definitely
That'll be
a
fine.
plus for you and me.
Yeah, I've talked to John Robbins, so I don't know, I haven't talked to Bill Robbins, but I talked to John.
I talked to John today.
Yeah, okay, I haven't talked to him the last week, but, yeah. No, we can talk to all those along there, because they're gonna be involved in the final
They
design.
are already.
Of that,
Yep.
yeah.
Any other questions at this point?
Mayor Rudd?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
I've probably struggled with this the most. I think you all know that. And after looking at this, I think one of the things that I like about this plan better than the original plan is as much as I love the idea of a covered parking structure, I had major concerns about putting a large structure like that in that lot, and who's going to maintain it down the road? Who's going to tear it down if it needs to be tore down? Once it's there, it's there. I guess that's my big issue. If a developer were to come to town, yes, Jim Fisher said it well maybe a couple weeks ago, a month ago, it's probably not likely a major development is going to come to town and want that lot in the very near future. But I like the idea that if the perfect development were to fall out of the sky, and this wasn't successful, there's not that much to tear down in order to sell this property now to someone else in order to do this, as opposed to having this major parking structure. So that's the plus side for me. I will side with Ken on this one. I'm concerned, the last time we said we couldn't vote on this right away because we didn't feel the public had enough time and enough input. That is my only concern. I had understood that most of the businesses surrounding this had already been spoken to and knew. And so I'm wondering what would delaying this to the next meeting, how big of a problem would that be so that the public had a little bit more time, now that they've seen the new design, to give us a little bit more feedback?
I don't think tonight we're really asking for approval for the design. We're really asking for approval to use the site. You know, once we are allowed to use the site, then, yeah, we'll develop a conceptual design. So this isn't really, it's really asking for approval to use that site. Then we'll get a design going, which we need to talk to all the surrounding neighbors to see how it feeds into them and how the design works. So we're really, tonight, would like to ask for approval to use the site, then we'll do our conceptual design, really, then we'll come back and really get final approval from you on the final design with all the input of the stakeholders.
I understand that. For me, they kind of go hand in hand. However, I do like the fact that we do have the opportunity,
Yeah.
even if we give approval for the site, to later say, we don't like the design and we're not going to move forward if it doesn't meet what we feel is the best interest of that parking lot.
And, you know, and I think when we get into conceptual and detailed design is, you know, I think what we're talking about with the neighbors is really how does it impact them? You know, do they need additional parking? Do they need some kind of ramp or, you know, things moved around a little bit? I think what we're really looking for tonight is, this is the site we'd like to use, and developing McMorran in part of that site. So we'd like to use this site and develop McMorran. And again, the details aren't worked out at all on McMorran. So I don't think we want to look at this drawing as, wow, there it is. That's how big the driveway is. In fact, Jim Wilson asked me, is that where it's going? I said, no, this is just an idea, you know. So we're really trying to present something tonight that shows you, yes, it fits on the site, there's plenty of room on the site, we can do other work around the site, and then we really got to get our conceptual design worked out and our details worked out. The other thing I guess I'd like to express, as far as this parking structure, in the concept today is, we could always, if something came along that we said, oh, wow, we need a lot more parking, we can always build a parking structure, because over the open parking can be something built later. So that parking, without even removing the transit center, we could do a parking structure 10 years down the road if it was deemed necessary, you know.
Any other questions right now? And I'm sure you're going to still be there available when we actually get the item before us, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
That concludes presentations. We'll move on to public hearings. Clerk would read the public hearing, please.
Number 1 is to hear public comments on the Main Street Revitalization Project Brownfield Plan. Following the public hearing, council will give consideration to a resolution to approve the Main Street Revitalization Project Brownfield Plan.
Didn't you have a correction on that?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Sorry.
On page 13 of the plan as presented and on the website, the first paragraph, the dollar amount is a $1.6 million amount, and it should be a $2.3 million amount. The exact amount is $2,369,465. So that would be a substitution a correction that we're actually making.
And that's on page 13 of 17. Okay, the public hearing is open. It's the time for anyone in the audience to come to the podium and speak about public hearing number 1 on the Main Street Revitalization Project Brownfield Plan. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the City Council this evening on this plan? No one? Okay, seeing no one, then I declare the public hearing closed, and we will have the resolution before us for consideration. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Is there a second?
Support.
From Councilmember Lewandowski. Discussion. Boy, we have no questions. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the city of Port Huron, and I thank Larry Jones and his partner for investing in our community. If no one else has anything, we will take a vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole? Yes. Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Now is the time for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the city council, they have 4 minutes if you wish to get up, and please give us your name.
Good evening, my name is Wing Teal, and I live in Port Huron on Riverside Drive. I'm here tonight to ask the public to support the 2012 Blue Water Festival through a fundraiser. 100% of the proceeds go toward the operating cost of the festival. We've created a calendar that features photographs of Port Huron and the surrounding area. A few months ago, we invited local photographers, amateur and professional, to submit their pictures of the Blue Water area to our Facebook page. The public was then invited to vote, and the top 12 winning photographs were printed in this calendar. Trina Avadisian donated her time to lay out the calendar, which saved us $600 in printing cost. Local printers submitted their bids, and the job was awarded to the lowest bidder, which was Phoenix Printing in Port Huron. We are selling the calendars for $10 each, and I think they turned out beautiful. Now, if you want to take a look, I'll pass it around. I have some with me today. Through the eyes of our local talented photographers, we can be reminded every day next year how beautiful this area is. There is page after page of gorgeous photos, all taken by people in our community. They make great Christmas gifts for employees, families, and friends. They can be purchased at Studio 1219, the Title Agency of Michigan, Blue Water Chamber of Commerce, Blue Water Convention Tourism Bureau, Palmer Park City Recreation Building, Independent Floor Covering, Daybreak Cafe, and Cheap Charlie's, or you can also purchase them online at www.bluewaterfestival.com. I also want to congratulate the winner of the logo contest, Carl, and I'm sorry if I mess up your last name, it's Fese, F-E-S-E, whose winning logo is also featured on the calendar. And I wanted to thank all the photographers that entered the calendar contest, as well as those who voted. I hope the public will get behind this effort to raise money for the Blue Water Festival, support our local nonprofits and businesses, and help spread the word about the beautiful calendars. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council this evening?
Mayor Rep, Mr. Brown, Council, Larry Jones, Port Huron. Number one, I want to publicly thank everybody for all their help in decorating and the lights. I know I've heard a lot of things from myself, but I'm only just one person, and I've had a lot of help from a lot of people in the city. And, the cities looks really great, and like I told Mr. Brown today, hopefully we're putting our foot in the door so next year we can start earlier and work with the city and even make it even nicer. So that's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of happy people, and we've seen a lot of kids and everybody enjoyed that. So I wanted to mention that. And the other with this transit center, looking at that, I don't understand why usually they have like a plan that they bring to council for approval. We've seen, like, what is this, 4 or 5 different plans in long speeches, and they change every time. Now, when I look at this, when me and Brent first talked with the city about some investments in town, I was given a map that showed a parking garage, and they wondered if we would be interested in putting in a hotel, or if we knew somebody that would put in a hotel. So I still have that map, which is very beautiful, hanging on my wall, and it shows this big parking garage right there. So to see that come true when we got the plan from the transit center of putting a parking garage there, everything and anybody I've talked to about the development, and if we put a hotel there, if we put apartments there, if somebody if somebody dropped out of the sky and it was made possible, they would have to have a parking garage. Right now, when you put that, it's like putting a train track through the back of our properties. Right now, as soon as I seen that, and that's the first time I've seen it tonight, Brent, myself, Dave and Tom from Boyne City, we put a lot of work into that block and the other block, and even when we talked with the city engineer along Grand River, we wanted to redo that sidewalk and put diagonal parking in there because we're going to need more parking. Sail Away Cafe just opened today, and they could use that parking right there on Grand River because it's only just, 200 feet from that parking spot to the Sail Away Cafe. If we look at today, or yesterday, or last week, if we look behind us, yes, there's 30 cars in that parking lot. But if we look even 1 year from now, even if we look 6 months from now, when we have contractors there working on that project, we're going to need that parking space, that city parking. The last thing we need is a glorified porta pot sitting right out behind, the Hack, which someday will be a restaurant, and we want that restaurant to be as good as Jeff's at the Vintage. Jeff says he has 200 people in there, which has got to be at least 100 cars. If you take 100 cars out of that restaurant, and you take every bit of 100 cars of people working in the Sperry, and you take the other events, the deli, the other city parking, because we want those people to actually park there and walk to the Crown Building, to the Backyard Soaps. That parking is very well needed, and there's not enough there. So to take away 50 parking spots and put in this, this parking garage, like I say, a little covered area and a bathroom, in that separation from the city, it's more or less the parking back there is more or less for the college. Really, I guess when I seen that there, I'm like, golly, I wish we'd have never bought the Hack. And this is going to hurt Sperry's, tremendously. Everybody that we've talked to that wants...
Mr. Jones, I got to
Okay,
wrap
just
up
one-
your time.
Everybody that
Sorry.
we've talked to, as far as renting and leasing there, their first question is parking. And in the past, that's always been a problem, is not having the parking there. So I really would like these folks to talk with the people in that block. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi. My name is Elaine Robb. I am an attorney, and I wanted to talk about just some thoughts that I had about the I-69 International Corridor Agreement. Before I do that, I happen to have a one-page printout of what I wrote up on how to get out of the agreement for a county, and I would like to pass it out to everybody and ask that it be put into the record.
Sure will, thank you.
I only brought 8 copies, so this is the 8th one, and I'll hand this out afterwards, so 2 of you will have to share. You will notice that Dan Brown said that you only have to give 6 months' notice to get out of this contract, but from this one-page thing, you can see that actually, initially you have to give 6 months' notice, that's correct. But then, in order to get out of this, there are 3 conditions, all of which must be met. The first condition is you have to pay all your debts after you go, and that seems pretty reasonable. But I can't speak for that. I mean, I'm not a, money person. But then there's 2 more conditions. The second condition, if you look at your page, has 2 parts to it. I added the stuff in brackets, and I added the spacing to make this legal stuff easier to read. But anyway, if you take a look at provided that A and B, if you just even take a look at 2B, the corporation, each county can get out, provided that the withdrawing county shall be deemed to remain a party by the corporation, shall be deemed to remain a party if necessary for the limited purpose of preserving any of the foregoing incentives. And basically, that's pretty much any time the corporation wants. Whenever you see the word deems, that means in the subjective viewpoint of the corporation. Under 6.05, the corporation has a fiduciary duty only to itself, not to the county and not to the citizens of the county. So I have a concern about representation as well. Basically, Dan also suggested that there would be full representation by, each county who could put someone on the board of directors. Under section 6.01, it's Article 6 and Article 7, there's a whole layer of administrators are created, so I have concerns about creating a new sort of breed of government called regional governance that is going on actually all over the country right now, not just here. And what it does, unfortunately, is put at risk our constitutional form of government where we have federal, state, and local representation. So that's one of my big concerns. Under section 2.05, it says that the counties intend and direct that the corporation shall have governmental powers. And so I just question, can that mean at some point in the future that they would say that they have a right to eminent domain powers? Because, one of the tenets of law is even if a statute says, oh, you're protected and only the state can give, eminent domain powers to any local corporation or something like that, you can always contract around statutes. If you have fully engaged parties to a contract who say this is what I want, then that supersedes a statute.
Your 4 minutes are up.
Thank you, and I will hand this out, and I ask that it be put into the record as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, folks. My name is Margaret Enright. I live in Port Huron, and I just wanted to mention that I'm extremely disappointed that the city does not have a large tree in front of McMorran. I mean, I've heard that in the past one has been knocked over or blown over or something, but if Detroit and Chicago and New York and all these places can put up an enormous tree, 100 feet tall, certainly we could put up some kind of a tree, a large tree in front of McMorran. We have a city planning person, we have an engineer, we have people who must know how to tie a tree down so it don't blow over. Any parent knows if you've got small children, when you put up your Christmas tree, you anchor it to the wall or something so the kids don't climb it or pull it over or whatever. I certainly think Port Huron could have put one up and made the city a little brighter and a little more welcoming when Santa Claus came to town on Friday.
Thank you.
Hello, Kimberly Morden from Clyde Township, and I'm here more as a concerned citizen of the county. Kind of piggybacking on what Elaine Robb, her concern with the I-69 corridor. 4 minutes, 4 days is not enough to go over all the concerns with this agreement. One thing specifically I'd like to point out, under Article 4, Section 4.01, states, "The enumeration of power in the agreement shall not be construed as a limitation upon the powers of the corporation and is in addition to any powers authorized by law," which tells me that the powers of this corporation are not defined, and in fact, they are very broad, which everyone should be concerned about that possibility. Another just common sense observation, we have I-69, we have I-94, we have the bridge which is being expanded, we have the waterway. Why do we need anybody to market that for us? Common sense would dictate that any corporate board that's intelligent enough to take their corporation to the international level can simply look at a map and see that this is where they want to be.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Rep, City Council, and Bruce Brown. My name is Joe Belcher, and I own the Backstreet Deli at 324 Superior Mall. My concern today is the bus transit and the exact location of the building. I was all in favor of the parking deck and the bus transit, but now I've heard there isn't going to be a parking deck and we're going to lose around 50 parking spots. I feel that is not the right idea in moving the city forward. With things happening to the city of Port Huron, the Sperry Building, the Convention Center, Thomas Edison Inn getting a facelift, the Huron revitalization project with 50 new lofts coming to the downtown. We need to think about the future and not just the 30 parking spots that are being used today, which is more around 50 or 80. My wife Debbie and I have invested our life savings in the deli and the downtown Port Huron because we believe in this town and the progress it is making. Long-range plan is critical in rejuvenating the downtown district. Please, City Council, think long and hard before you come up to a decision on the bus transit and the parking deck. Your decision will affect my life and my children's life. One of who is in college and the other one is serving our country in Afghanistan. One idea I have is putting the parking further to Erie Street. This way it's easy access for the bus to go on Lapeer Avenue, and people parking are closer to the main street and the business district. It's kind of hard to sell sandwiches if buses are right in front of my business. And no one can park on Superior Mall because there's such a small amount of parking there as well. With new developers and others willing to invest in the downtown, we need to listen to them. It would be nice if we could have some meetings with landlords and merchant owners on future insight to the growth of the downtown. I would like to invite you to come to my deli and look through the windows to see what a potential bus depot would look like for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Trina Avedisian, 15th Street, Port Huron. I'm here to rebut the insinuation that the McMorran parking lot only has 30 cars parking in it per day. I have a lot of time on my hands, so I've been out counting cars. And today I counted 200 cars in the parking lot at 12:30 when I went through there. When I came back through to walk my dog at 5, there were 67 cars in the parking lot. Yesterday I went by there, and on a Sunday when nothing's going on downtown, there were 40 cars in the parking lot down there. That doesn't even count the cars that are there before and after I'm gone. So to make that insinuation that there's only 30 cars parking in that parking lot per day is ridiculous. And if you're going to start revitalizing the downtown and you're going to start encouraging people to come down, you got to give them a place to park. And don't make it hard on them. Now, I'm somebody that doesn't mind walking. I'll park far away and walk to something. Obviously, I don't mind walking because I'm walking 3 miles downtown and back from my house and back again through the downtown. But I've heard more people say that they don't want to walk very far to get to a store. And when you make it hard for them to get to the store by taking away close parking, they're not going to come. So I just want to let you know that I decided to start counting cars, and I'm going to keep counting cars, and I will let you know, but there's more than 30 cars parking there per day. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Rock Stevens. I'm going to officially say that I'm the owner of the Atrium Cafe, but in reality, my wife owns it. I'm just married to her. So thank you, Gail, for opening the Atrium Cafe. Before you tonight, I think it's going to be like item number 4 on resolutions. We're asking you to give your endorsement for a liquor license for the Atrium Cafe. Statistics will show us that 9 out of 10 new restaurants go out of business in the first 5 years. And while I was sitting here, I just kind of made a list of about 12 restaurants within a mile of our location that have gone out of business in that same time period, in the first 5 years. And as I'm listening to, we're trying to make decisions to enhance the quality of life in Port Huron, to help mom and pop businesses like ourselves. Certainly having the liquor license would certainly behoove our ability to be successful. So I would certainly appreciate your consideration in that regard. Also on the whole bus or the parking facility, I was also thinking in my mind when I heard that, God, no matter what we do with future growth for McMorran, it just sounded like that could be essential. That would be such a benefit to no matter how we plan to enhance the use of McMorran down the road. So I too was just a little surprised to hear or see in the paper today that some of those plans have changed rather drastically. So it seems like more parking certainly would enhance businesses downtown to have the capability to be more successful. At any rate, thank you for your hard work and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the City Council this evening?
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, Councilman, my name is Paul Murray. I live at 2865 Stone Street. Been pretty much a lifelong resident of Port Huron. My father was postmaster here. My grandfather was county clerk for 38 years. I was lucky enough to be elected to be registered deeds for St. Clair County. And there's a long history, and when we discuss items here, you discuss items here, it's about all of us. It's the community, and I support you for that. What I want to discuss is about the McMorran Authority. I grew up at a time before there was a McMorran, when we used to go to Point Edward to play hockey. I remember the dedication to McMorran. I remember seeing Andrew Murphy in his old red convertible being driven by a driver down to dedicate McMorran. I played in the first Silver Stick hockey tournament at McMorran, and I played hockey for 17 years, ending as a junior, playing for the local area here. And it was a great place, and it still is a great place. I understand the passion of the current people that got their 3-year marching papers to try and figure out a way to make McMorran more relevant. I think there's a passion in all of us in the community that want to see McMorran succeed. I would disagree with the idea that it needs to be handed off as some kind of a redheaded stepchild to the city to try and figure out what to do with it. I think it's time now to get some impassioned people, some dedicated people, people that have a history of pushing things to the limit to move forward. And I think that's in the back of all of your minds. And I would offer myself to be on a new authority. And I have a passion and I have a background to be able to get things done, and would do that for you if I were so lucky to be accepted to do that. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council from the public tonight? declare public comment closed, and we will move on with the consent agenda.
Mayor Rep,
Yes,
request the
Councilmember.
removal of Resolution 3, please.
Okay.
Mayor Rep,
Yes,
I'd also like to request that you remove item 6.
will do. Is there a motion then to adopt the balance of the items?
So moved.
Councilmember Lewandowski,
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Take the vote.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Under the consent agenda, communications, one from Downtown Development Authority that supports the concept of the Blue Water Area Transportation Commission's proposed downtown transit center, which does not include a parking structure. Reappointed William Smith to the Port Huron Housing Commission for a 5-year term to expire on December 19th, 2016. Reappointment of Yvonne Williams as a Democrat and Patricia Bradley as a Republican to serve as members of the Board of Canvassers with terms to expire December 31st, 2015. And we will move to, from the city manager, number 1.
It's a recommendation that the bid of Northgate Ford in the amount of $102,864 for a 2012 Ford F-550 aerial truck for use by the DPW traffic section be accepted.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember
Support.
Mueller. Councilmember Harris, was that, okay. I don't quite recognize your voice yet, so if I'm not looking, so, is there discussion? Questions from anyone on this item? I guess I have a question, if I could ask it. Is this replacement of a vehicle and et cetera, et cetera?
Mayor Rep and council members, currently the city owns 2 vehicles that we use for this purpose. These are vehicles that maintain 23 traffic signals in the city and about 1,000 exterior lights. We also use them to install traffic control signs and so on. It safely elevates our employees to the appropriate heights to do work on these types of facilities. We have 2 units currently. One is 19 years old, the other is 20 years old, and they're in very poor condition. We've reduced our staff by 50% as part of the cutbacks the last several years, and we're proposing to reduce the number of vehicles used also by 50%, bringing it from 2 to 1.
So this one is replacing 2?
That's
Is that
correct.
correct?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Clegg? Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on to resolution number 1.
Is approving the amendment to the contract with Michigan Pipe Inspection Incorporated to provide pre-design and emergency sewer cleaning and video inspection services through December 31st, 2012.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Harris. Is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Cole. Is there discussion? No discussion. We will take the vote.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
No.
Councilmember Moeller.
No.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Move on to resolution number 3.
Is reappointing Robert C. Beeden and Walter G. Crosby Jr. as members of the Traffic Study Committee with terms to expire on November 28th, 2013.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Ruiz. Is there discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Yes, Councilmember Moeller.
not that, I'm not going to oppose this, but I just wanted to, for discussion purposes, the reason this committee was started many, many moons ago, one of the seats was to be held by the school district, and Mr. Beeden has held that district, and Mr. Beeden's been retired longer than Mr. Ruiz has been retired from the school district. And I know we have a new police chief, and this isn't the time to do it, but we have another employee from the school district that applied. And I would suggest that maybe for the next appointment, we look at reappointing someone from the school district and instead of these same people that have been there 25, 30 years. So I think it's time for a change of blood.
I don't think Mr. Beeden's been there that long, because I remember when he came on board. But, yeah,
He's been there.
He's been there a while.
Yeah, and it was always a school board member, a person before that.
yeah,
so.
and the requirements of that board, not that I'm disputing that it shouldn't be somebody from there or should be, but there is no requirement that it be someone from the school
No,
district.
I understand that, but the intent was to keep somebody from the schools in the original seat was given to that and passed on to that. And seeing that Kathleen has put in for it and she's a member of the school, I think it's something that we should look at in the future. Nothing against Mr. Beeden, but sometimes it's nice to pass the buck. Thank you.
So noted. Any other discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Mueller.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
No.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Number 4.
Is a recommendation that the Michigan Liquor Control Commission approves, above all others, the application of Stevens Gable LLC, doing business as Atrium Cafe and Ice Cream Parlor, for a Class C license pursuant to Public Act 501 of 2006, Section 521A, subsection 1B.
Do we have a motion?
Mayor Rep,
Yes, Councilmember Mueller.
I would move for this as long as it's for Rock's wife and not him.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Mueller.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Move on to resolution number 5.
Supporting the South McMorran parking lot as a location for the proposed Blue Water Area Transportation Commission's bus transfer facility project, and authorizing the city manager to enter into negotiations with the Transportation Commission regarding final design with the final agreement subject to city council approval.
Do we have a motion?
Mayor Rep, so move.
Thank you, Councilmember Mueller. Is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Lewandowski. Is there discussion?
Mayor Rep.
Yes, Councilmember Harris.
I just want the public to know I'll have to be not supporting this at the current time and until we facilitate the message to the community people who have adjacent property. And I think the language in here should be shortened a little bit, that we would allow the testing of the soil only.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, Councilmember Mueller.
I'm supporting this mainly to get the ball moving. I understand some of the, and to get the plans working. It's obvious the Blue Water Area Transportation wants this facility. And I believe the reason that they took care of the parking, one of the reasons were, and they have not admitted that, was because of the criticism that they received from the public. So I think we need to get the ball rolling, get the administration working on it, and come up with something. As to the business people that spoke today, I support the local businesses in that. But their own organization, the Downtown Development Authority, or DDA, came in here and supports this, so they need to go to the DDA and straighten those people out and then come back to us with a different recommendation first. But I'm mainly supporting this to get the ball moving, so.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, Councilmember Lewandowski.
It's getting to be an unusual thing. It's twice tonight. I agree with Brian. We just do need to get the ball rolling. I think that it's important that we do that before they lose funding or lose interest and go someplace else and build it. I don't think, we still have final say as to whether they can or cannot build it there at this point, so I'd like to see the ball just get going too.
Any other discussion?
Mayor Rep.
Yes,
Brian's right
Councilmember
on the
Lewis.
mark with this, that we do have to get things in motion. I'm a little surprised I came from away from a meeting. I assumed that those business people had been spoken to, and I was a little surprised at that aspect, and I would hope that they do the follow-through with that. And it too is a matter of supporting it just to get things moving. It's that important.
Is there any other?
Mayor Rep.
Yes.
I'd like
Councilmember
to
Cole.
voice the same kind of thing. I want the people who spoke tonight to know that I heard those concerns. I would like to visit the Backstreet Deli and see what it would look like from out of your window. And I will be supporting this as far as the location goes, but am looking forward to seeing those final plans and making sure that we can all be on board with those working for everybody in the city.
Mayor Up. Guess that leaves me.
You don't want to be left out.
I continue to be you know, I gotta say, I apologize, I can't wrap my arms around this. I can't wrap my arms around that this is the best location for it, but I have to agree with Brian as well. We need to move forward in some fashion. I don't want to see you go out and spend money on environmentals and final designs and then say no, but I have to tell you, I will support that, but I can't promise that I'm gonna say yes when it comes back. And until I've had more opportunity to hear other people and to actually see that design. I know Mr. Stevens said that it's not, they're not asking for design approval, they're asking for site approval, but that design, to me, matters whether or not it's that site. It really does. If that is the only location and the businesses downtown don't like it there, and it is blocking the view and it is a problem, then that site might not work. So I keep bouncing back and forth. I admit it, I'm torn. Every other day I have a different opinion on how I really feel about it. So I will support it so that we can move forward, but I still remain unconvinced this is the best place for it.
Thank you. So I guess I'll jump in too. And I too feel the same way. I think that we need to move forward with this, and I think the site in and of itself, I mean, that's all we are giving approval for tonight is the site. So I guess I would reiterate that certainly even what was shown tonight doesn't mean that that's what's going to be. I mean, maybe there's, and I'm just throwing this out, and I'm certainly not an architect, but maybe there's a way to move it in a little bit so that there could be some green space across from places like the Backstreet Deli and that, and have some angle parking or something along there and move the building over. I don't know if that's possible. It's certainly something I would hope you would look at, and that you would meet with those property owners that have concerns down there prior to putting a final design together. And of course, the city council still is the body that approves any final design. So this is only just to say, okay, you can keep going with the site and keep looking at it. But I certainly encourage you to continue dialogue with the abutting property owners over there, because it's important that they're supported and that their businesses are visited. But with that being said, I don't know, if it had been a structure that was butting it up right there, would it have made any difference from what there is right now? I don't really think so. I think if it's just an issue of whether it's there or not, that close to their buildings. So maybe there's some way we can work this out. And with that, we'll take a vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Mayor Rett?
Yes. Resolution number 6.
Is rescheduling the December 27th, 2011 City Council meeting to December 19th, 2011 at 7 o'clock p.m. in Conference Room 408 to discuss and establish goals for 2012.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Ruiz. Discussion.
I asked that this be removed from the consent agenda. I wanted an opportunity to share that I will not be in town. I will be out of town for the Christmas holiday on December 19th, so I would not be available to take part in that meeting. And just ask that, would it be possible to reschedule it for the following Monday instead of, which would be January 2nd?
Rachel did bring that up to me earlier and wondered. It's not for the city.
I come in on
Is
the
it a
second, I
holiday?
can tell you that.
Second's a holiday.
Okay, is it? Oh, that's right, because you are celebrating it. You're right,
Mayor
it
Rep.
is. Yeah, it is. But
Mayor Rep.
perhaps, yes.
I would suggest that we just leave it on the 27th. I mean, Christmas parties are over. 19th.
She's not going to be here
I
then
won't be there
either.
either of those.
And I think it's important that the entire council participate in any goal sessions, especially those that are new, that are not familiar with some of the things. So I think that that's not going to work anyways. And we don't really have a lot of business that's usually conducted at that meeting. So I don't know if there's another option as to whether or not we've got the first meeting. Well, the first meeting in December is
The 9th. Could we move it before that one and do it in conjunction?
of January.
Or
you mean?
January, I'm sorry. Yes, first meeting in January is the 9th, or we could do it in conjunction with the one in December as well.
Or I don't know how the administration feels as to whether or not you're prepared that we have a meeting such as that next Monday.
I can't make those early meetings that you have. It's not.
We could
because I
still
don't
make
get-
it at 7.
It's not that I don't get paid for them, like Alan says. It's simply I can't make them because I work for a living, so I'm sorry.
Well, we could still make it at the same time, at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, it's our regular meeting, isn't it, the 9th?
No, I said we could do it next Monday, the 5th of
Fifth.
December.
That's fine.
Pardon me?
That's fine.
How does that work for everybody else? And how does that work for you?
Is this going to be the goal meeting?
Yes.
That works fine.
Is that okay? I mean, it's not that we're going to expect other than to just discuss the things and lay some things. Doesn't mean we couldn't have a follow-up meeting in January, but at least it lays the things out on the table, gives the new council an opportunity to visit some of the things. So then we're really, we need to probably change the resolution a little bit, and I'm just thinking I'm going to, because we're not, I don't know how we can reschedule a meeting in the future to the, to prior to it. So really, we're,
What's that date?
I guess you're going to say that? Just have the, so we're having a first meeting instead of, okay, that's fine. So we're changing the date if somebody wants to amend this from December 27th to December the 5th.
I'll move to amend Resolution 6 to December 5th.
I will support that.
We have a motion, we have a second. There's no further discussion. This is just on voting on the amendment to change the dates. Okay, go ahead and we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes, and now we have it before us for the entire resolution, which would mean rescheduling the December 27th meeting to December the 5th at 7 PM to discuss and establish goals for 2012.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. There's nothing further to come before the council. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.